Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you Programming with Shadow, episode 44. In today's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at writing to files. So last time we looked at reading the files, and today we're going to move to the other side of that, writing to them. So the first thing we had to get two to-dos. I'm not going to touch the profiling one. I may still do that, but I'm not sure. But we'll touch this one. So when we run this one, we were getting an interesting case. So I've got it set so it'll read one line out of the file, one character out of the file at a time. So yeah, there's just that line one, two, and new line. And when I was doing it last time, I wasn't thinking, where's the second new line coming from? So I run this now. What I'm saying. So when you look at this, you're getting extra 2, 3. So what is happening here? I don't think I have a good way to show this. Maybe if I read as an E. Let's do this. Let's do if buffer. We know it's size 1, so if buffer that equals R console.writeLine R else if buffer at 0, it should be 0, not 1. There's only one value in it. Equals /n console.writeLine else, then we'll do this case. Now let's take a look at what's happening there. Still didn't do it. Okay. Well, I thought that would do it. So let's see. I guess it's going to be the code for that value. So do let's do this. Let's do buffer at 0 dot bootstrap. And we'll do it in both cases. What this does. Don't know. Well, I thought I could show what is happening there, but let's look. So what's happening is so the first one's a /r. So /r we'll put table image. Pulling it up anywhere all that quick. Now it's gonna be harder to pull up. See if we can just debug this. Oh well, that's not gonna work either. Let's just do for each for the in buffer C console.writeLine. We'll do that. Now let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. Now we have one here, but we don't have another one. Here it is. There. We still got a new line. Here we got two. What's happening is apparently this one's I think this one ends up being the /r. So it gets a /r, but then it gets a new line. So when you're using console.writeLine, it writes a new line each what we're getting to. So the /r gets a new line, and then the /n gets a new line. /n is also a new line itself, however, so then there's a second new line. Maybe that's what's happening. But either way, I think it's correct. So I believe it's the /r/n as I'm going through. It's taking each character individually and making them into its own line. Yeah, this didn't help, so let's undo all this. Back to what we had. Yeah, so what I think is happening there is it's taking apart our new lines, and when it gets the /n, it's just treating it as a new. So yeah, or at least talked about the to-do we had here. All right, so let's move on. So reading from files, we've looked at those. We looked at file.read all lines, read lines, read all text. We looked at some stream readers and using them to read to the end. And now we're going to look at the writing side, so writing out to text file, and you're going to see this sort of similar to what we've seen before. So we do we'll say write all text. So this should be very similar to what we've seen before. So we'll say file.write all text takes a path and content. So let's do it for the path. We'll just say out.txt, out1.txt. We'll say content to write to file /n line 1 line 2. We'll end with a new. So let's see if that works. There we got an out.txt, and looks like we wrote out to a file. So that was pretty easy. So it's just taking a string there. And if we look at the other ones, let's see. So string and content, do a span. You can specify the encoding, so if you need a different encoding method, you can do that. Okay. So yeah, so if we wanted to do a different encoding, we could say encoding dot say Unicode 16 maybe, so UTF-16. Now if we look at it, this one, if we look down here, it says it's UTF-8. If we rerun it now, and it does overwrite, I believe. Yeah, overwrote. Now we're UTF-16 LE, whatever LE stands. Actually don't. Let's see what the other ones were while we were there. See what that one does. It just comes out as UTF-8. Okay, but yeah, so there's the basics. That's the one. I think that's the only one I've really used. Actually don't know that like I said, I've used the reads, a couple different reads, but I've actually haven't used a lot of the there's UTF-16 with the, or basically the bytes are stored the other direction. But yeah, so there's read all text. Occasionally I have used this one actually. So I guess I have used the second one, but I've used do write all lines. I have used write all lines. So file.write all lines. One.text. This one takes an array or an IEnumerable. It adds the encodings to that. So we could do say content to write to file line 3, line 4. Slightly different, but what this does. And let's just say new content. Now if we run this one, you can notice we're getting a warning. It's just telling us that we're not using the constant up here. So there we go, new content. So it overwrote again. So interesting. So we can overwrite. What if we don't want to overwrite though? So there's also a 3 append all text, I think. Let's make sure I'm right on that. Append all text, yeah. There's also file.append all lines. These are just the equivalents of those two, but they're appending rather than overriding. So we'll just say do another constant. Let's do const string output file equals out1.text. That way I can put with the parentheses or the quotes. We're going to see this a lot, so this. All right, so now it's got that content in it. So let's do we'll append a little bit more to it. Append all text /r/n line 6, line 7. And here we'll do an array. It will say append all lines, line 8, and line 9. So this should do what we expect. We should see this with append all text, and then line 6 and 7, and then append all lines 7 and or 8 and 9. Hopefully we do. Yes. Alright. So notice I'm being explicit with /r/n. That's because I'm using Windows. So let's remove this one. So now what I expect to see is this should work. Shouldn't see any difference here, and we don't. Good. Let me open in File Explorer just a minute, and let me open. So I'm just opening the file in a different program. Open in Notepad. Worked. In the past, I don't think that would have worked. Let's see. Code++ work? It does. But interestingly, I don't think that used to work. So maybe they've actually changed how they handle that. In the past, what I would have expected was just doing the /n would have made it so that it was on the same line. So it would have looked like this. And notice I've appended twice because I reran it. That's actually interesting, though, that it worked. I actually didn't expect that. Try one more thing. Interesting. Okay, so maybe Windows is no longer as case sensitive as it used to be. See if I can do a it's not cat, it is type. Type out1.text. Even it accepted it. Interesting. Let me make sure I did write that. To uncomment this one out. Let's go ahead and delete this file. Now let's rerun this. Not this. This. Yep, it does. It is not doing it. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe you no longer need to do /r. On the other hand, maybe it's taking what? Maybe it's that won't. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna try. It's like what else? What else I could see is happening is it's taking that /n and saying since I'm on Windows, go ahead and convert it. I could see it also doing that. That should have wrote one line. Yeah, that's not it. I'm not sure which one it is. It's one or the other. So this used to be what you had to do. Maybe this now works, but I could also see that what's actually happening is instead of that's actually working, it's appending the /r itself. I could see that as well. In fact, let me open with this again. We can check that. Let's see. Yeah, that's appending to it. So CRLF, that's the ASCII codes carriage return and line feed. So on Windows it would just be line feed, and or on Linux that tells you to go to the next line. On Windows they wanted both of them. What it's actually doing, I think, is it's appending the carriage return for us. Let's see, let's do this. Go to replace. Let's do we're gonna hit this extended button and let's replace all /r with emptiness. All right, so now if we save the file, let's see what happens. So it still handles properly. Go here and do a type out. Still handles properly. Interesting. Let's do one more thing. Let's do a notepad out.text. Still handles. Okay, interesting. So my thought is that that wouldn't work, but I guess it does. Yeah, and you can see here, this one knows it's LF. So what I thought was that this would be able to handle it. There, and nothing converted it back. What that was my thought was, yeah. I thought Visual Studio Code, I thought it would handle it, and I knew Notepad++ could handle it, but I thought it would show us differently, which it clearly didn't. I thought Notepad didn't do that, so maybe they've changed Notepad since I last did it. And type here, I also thought it didn't work if you did it as well, so maybe they've changed it since the last time I tried it, but either way. But either way, there's just some writing, so apparently you can just use this. Other and more correct thing to do in Windows is, or for this, is actually to do this environment dot new line, and then that lets it pick for you. So that's the technical reference. So /r/n for non-Unix, /n for Unix. That's the more technically correct one instead of these /r/n's. Just to keep that in mind. We'll just put that in there. All right. So there, learned something new as well. Let's move on. There's a append though, so write all, append all, file dot append. So you see there's several overloads. You can write bytes. There's also a pinned text, and I think there's also a write text. Oh, there's not a write. Let's make sure pinned text is the one I'm thinking of. So creates that. Okay, so it creates you a stream writer. So we've looked at stream readers up here. So a stream writer is the opposite. So it gives you something you can write to. So it gives you that back out and lets you handle it some other way. So yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at the other ways first. So let's do 4 here. We'll say for 4 stream writer, I guess. So let's begin with do a using stream writer equals new stream. So let's do a file stream because we're writing to a file. So what other streams are there first? Stream content, writer, stream reader, file stream. That's the one I think I want up. A lot of different streams here. Yeah, I actually don't know what all of them will do. I thought there was a memory stream. I've seen that one before as well. Let's do a file stream though because we're writing to a file. Provide a stream for a file. File stream, and we'll say we need to do a new file stream. This is the one we provided our arguments for the other day. Not that one. This one. So we'll do put file in file mode. This time we're writing to the file instead of reading from it. If we read to it, it's going to error out, I think. This is the same problem we ran into the other day. So do using the file stream equals now using file stream equals new path output file mode. That's the problem. Mode. Yeah, this is where we can either open, so that throws it, and create. Yeah, create. So create overwrites and adds to it. Truncate adds to it, but doesn't throw, right? Oh no, it makes it so it's 0 now. Here, open or create. So should open the file if it exists or create it if it doesn't. So that's the one you'd use a lot if it's you think it's a new file. There we go. So that's what I was trying to do, not file access. We'll just put that in there. File stream. Let's add a another argument. So file access. So this is where you can control it. Let's see what happens when we just do a read. I think it won't work. There, I don't care. But there we go. So let's see what happens. So not sure right offhand, but we'll see what it does. There's this new file stream, so let's just do writer dot line write. Need some text. Let's do an array. Let's just do string lines to output line 1 line 2 line 3, and we'll do one more, line 4. We'll do it like that. So let's do it like that. So let's say now, so for each var l in lines to output, should just say line, and we'll just say writer dot write line in line. Let's see if that works. So I think that'll do it for us. Here, let's do instead of output file, let's do we'll do a second one. Output dot out2 dot text. We'll do that. Let's see if we get output 2, or if we fail. I think we'll fail. Yeah, good. Stream was not writable, so that's the error we put in. So let's see what happens if we fix that. Oh, and let's see what output 2 was. So it did write, but it's empty because there's nothing there. So now it should just open the file, and it adds. Good. If we write it again, it does not append because we did not put it in append mode. Let's see, let's put it in append. It was dot append. Let's see what happens now. So append should add, we should have longer text, yeah. So there's how you can do an append, and there's the difference if you do a write, if you do a create, open or create, or append. That gives you more control. You can adjust how you're doing things a little more. I think there's more options here. Like I think you can control the encoding. Encoding.utf8. You can do buffer size, so how much it does at the time. So if you know you have some kind of limit, like you know you're going to be writing a whole lot of files, and you know whatever device you're writing can only write at such a speed, you can sort of control that a little bit. But yeah, so there's a little bit more control you can take. I think there's one more thing. So I think when you do a writer, I believe it has to wait on the operating system most of the time. I believe you can, maybe auto flushes does it as well, but I think you can use this flush method. That tells you always write to it. So each one it writes and then dumps, write and dump. It won't because I've got the typo here. But that's where that buffer comes in. So let's say buffers, or yeah, size. Six, so say 6 characters. So let's see if that does anything different. I think we won't see a difference because it's so small. Or not. Create write. Let's wipe that. Again, not doing what I expected. There we go. So what it's doing is it should be writing in 6 chunks. So this 6 and then x6, which is 2 here, and then 4 here, and it's writing it out like that is what it should be doing. So if you didn't have the flush, it doesn't necessarily have to write it out as you go. Like if you had a lot of these, you could possibly see it writing if you had something you could open at the same time. I think that sharing none would have killed that. I think I would have to do read. So if you were writing a lot of files, you could see it populating in progress. So I'm trying to think if I could do that easily. Let's try this, but I don't think it will work. For I equals 0, I less than 10,000, I plus, and we'll just repeat this. I don't think this was going to show us anything still, but we'll at least give it a try. Yeah, it's so quick. Able. Should be 40,000 lines. Let's see. Let me check one thing here. If I might give it one more 0, if that makes it slow enough, we can see it or not. Still almost. That's 400,000. What I think, if you could slow it down enough, maybe we could do with this. Let's add a grid.sleep. 100 milliseconds. Let's see if this one shows. There we go. Swap the file first. Now let's run it. Yeah, I don't think it does. There it goes. Yeah, there we go. So now you can see it's doing it in 6-byte chunks. There we go. A little neat. Let's do a Control C. So let's wipe the file again. Now let's remove the 6 bytes. So now we're letting it use its own default buffer size. And this one's going to be a lot quicker. That looks like it's writing each line, which makes sense because that's what we're doing. We're writing line and then we're flushing out that line. That makes sense. Do a little smoother. Let's stop this again. Now, remove this. Now we'll let the operating system decide what to do. Let's clear our file again. Really cleared it. What did I do? Somehow closed it. I don't even know what button I clicked there. So let's run it one more time. Now let's see. Now it's just running. So now it's hitting this thread sleep. So now it's using whatever the default buffer size is. I don't know what the default is. So tell me. I'd have to look for the thing, but what it's doing is using a default. So let's Google that real quick while it's running. So let's do stream otter chart. See if it says what the default size is, because it may still be pretty large. Yeah, I don't and There we go. It's written out at some point. Finish. It wrote 512 lines. So how big does that end up being? 4093. $40.96, so it's 3 bytes short. Guess the next, is it the max number of lines? No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it's 3 bytes short again. I'd have to read up on that. I'm actually not sure why it's 3 bytes short. Interesting. I would have figured it would have the default. So the default's 400 or 496, and when it's writing out, it's 3 bytes short. But I don't know why right offhand. Don't see it. It doesn't really say what a default buffer size is. Yeah. Oh well. So either way though, so there's this arot, and you can see what it's doing. So flush is making it so each line outputs at a time. So where you could use that is if you have to get it out and you know it might can crash at any time or something, you might want to just flush it so you get as much out as you can. This you're letting the operating system tell you when it's ready to output. Eventually it's ready, but there it's outputted again, but still running. The reason it's going so slow, by the way, is this. If I remove this line, comment this line out, so that just makes it slow or stop for 100 milliseconds. So there it wrote it out and did its own buffering and stuff. And there it was that quick. But yeah, so there's just a controllable one, so we can adjust how we want to control it. And you can, so let's see, flush output what you currently have. So giving it a buffer size lets us control how much it outputs at a time. Let's just say 8 bytes. Now if we put that in, we should see the output in more. Delete that. Now we should see the output coming in more slowly, but more rapidly than it was before. Oh, I guess it's still not flushing through. Yeah. So because we didn't flush, and now it still has to get to the whatever the size of the operating system buffer is. So the screen has a buffer as well. Let's do this. If we flush this, we'll see it coming back out in 8s again. Probably 2 lines at a time, maybe. A little under, a little over, something like that, because I didn't count properly. So there's 4, 5, 6. So, oh no, I did count right. So 8. So 1 line at a time. I guess. So I magically got it the same as the 1 line. That was actually not intentional. I think that's 7. Good odd number. Save 77. It's taking a little while to get there, but when it gets there, you should see it go zoom past. 74. Should have cleared it out first. Stop that and clear it. Yeah, there. It's in some other size chunk. And it just happens to be 77 bytes. So you can use the buffer to control that. As you can see, though, most of my changes here aren't helping. Let's do 4096. I think that's what the size of the buffer. So let's see if this goes a little. So I think this is default, so what I expect to see is this should be almost the, but it's not. Uh, I guess what I'm doing here is each line has to wait, so what I actually want is to move my thread sleep here. There I'm waiting for every line, so if this one's instant. How fast that got big. Let's do Control C. Here's the next chunk. There, it's outstepping us a little quicker. So there, there's the problem. So each time I was waiting for it, I'm waiting out there. So to get it to actually wait for the buffer, I'm going to need to move this. Just say, keep on writing until you're full, or we get done, and then you can flush. Let's see what happens to that. That's still not going to be enough, so make that smaller. Let's make it something that fits in. So 8 a line, so 4 lines, 32. Let's say 20. Let's say 20 bytes. So this one should be quick. Let's see if it is. And look, now the numbers are not adding up sequentially. We're going up 20 bytes at a time. Should be 2.5 lines. You can see it's counting up faster, going up faster. That's the reasoning for that. If we don't try to output though, if we don't force it to do this, now we're letting the operating system do it. This one, let's make sure we cleared it. This one, on the other hand, should be faster. I guess it's still fighting the sleep, but when it dumps out, it should dump out a lot. Still fighting the sleep. There we go. Dumped out 4093 again. There's something there, but I actually don't know what that is. But so it dumped out a ton of them, and that looks about right. 3 more bytes would get it here to the end. So there's something there with how much it can dump out at one time. But yeah, so there's the controls you have. You have your buffer size here. Like there was another field, but I don't know what it was. I doesn't even know what the other field is. Leave open. The -1 is the default, so -1 must tell the operating system use your own. So there's the levers we can adjust though, and you can use that. So if you have special writing considerations, you can use that. And we're using file show read just so I can be able to see it as it's writing. So all in all, though, the fastest we had was just to let it do its own thing. So this was writing at a fairly quick rate, but still going. This one is effectively instant from our perspective. It's not actually instant. The operating system's still doing some of that stuff, but it's doing it all itself. And you can see the ones that wrote the C# compiler do it better than I was able to play around with the buffer and adjust myself. But part of that was removing the thread sleep too. Some of that was faster. So we put 7-byte buffer in, or let's do the 20-byte buffer again. We'll still see that this one is really quick as well without the sleep. So that sleep was making it wait 100 milliseconds each run of this loop. So 100,000 times that. Do the math there, and you can see how long that's going to take. Pull out a calculator real quick. So 100,000 times that many milliseconds. So it's just that many milliseconds divided by 1,000, divided by 60, and divide by 60. 2 hours and 7 minutes maybe. So it's going to take a while with their sleep there. But that's just to slow it down enough so we can see what's actually happening. I think. Is there anything else? So there's just playing around with the writer so you can write contents as you go. If I put this into an array and was able to loop over it, you don't have to do that. You could write it out individual lines like writer.writeLine and just write out as you go to content. Writer, I think there's one more option here. Let's remove this. There, like an end, I believe. There, and so say true, and there it's in append mode. Okay, so there it's taking a file. There we have a line that's 400,000, so if we run it again, it should be 800,000. Because it is being used. That is because we left it open. Here. So what that's saying, the process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. So we opened it up here. That's what the opener creates. So it opened the file and it's holding it open. When the stream router attempted to write to it, it couldn't write to it because it was already open. Now, if we look, now it's doubled the size of the file and roughly double. So that worked. So I think the reason it couldn't. So I think if we do this, right now we've got it set to read. I think if we make this read write, now I think it'll let us do it again and with them both at the same time. Did not. Dot. Interesting. Okay, so nope, that does not work. But either way, so that probably makes more sense anyway, because if you're writing two ones writing to the same file, you could run into problems more easily. So I guess blocking it does make sense. But that's what's happening there is this one and this one are. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Yeah, I believe that's all I wanted to cover. So we'll go ahead and leave it with there out at a time anyway. So we'll say there's a quick rundown on writing and appending text. I think next time we're going to plan on starting another project, and I intend for it to be smaller than the simulation project. This one I'm thinking maybe write out do a simple maybe a reading list or maybe a movie list. Maybe movie. Yep. I've done reading list. Maybe a movie list and write it out to a text file and maybe do a little bit of parsing. So maybe do maybe the CSV. So maybe have like movie and some other fields, like maybe I'm trying to think of a field that might have commas in it, something we need to escape. Oh, maybe a description or something. Something with at least one or two fields, and we'll be filling out the fields and writing them to a file and reading them back and forth. I think that'd be a good next step, though. We'll go ahead and call it for here today then. So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.